In episode 373 of the Clive Barker Podcast, Jose and Ryan are joined by Ed and Nina of Coenobium to welcome Jeramy Aiello to the show. Jeremy is a longtime friend of Ed Martinez and sculptor of the new 2022 Hellraiser Priest, played by Jamie Clayton. This episode is sponsored by Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination. Don Bertram is a longtime friend of Clive and advocate of his art. But Don's unique and inspiring paintings are for sale, and up to 50% of the proceeds go to the Arts and Medicine program at Texas Children's Cancer Center. Click the side banner and follow the link on the Etsy shop to have a look and buy one of his books. Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination was featured in the charity Hellraiser screening put on by our friend Ian Swanson in Grand Rapids, Michigan. That Hellraiser screening was a huge benefit to the kids at the Texas Children's Cancer Center. All right, well, welcome to episode 373 of the Clive Barker Podcast. This is Hellraiser 2022 with Jeramy Aiello. And for people who may not know, you are one of the designers of the Pinhead.
Sculptor, yeah.
Sculptor.
Yeah. It was designed already, definitely through the years. And then this new design was absolutely great. So I just took it from the drawing to the sculpture phase.
Ah, okay.
I would love to take credit for it because it's
yeah, right.
Keith Thompson,
yeah, I think.
Pete Thompson. Great
yeah.
drawing, Pete Thompson.
But yeah, so if you've seen movies in the last few years, if you've been watching movies for decades, you probably have seen the work of Emmy Award-winning artist Jeramy Aiello. You've worked in such makeups as the Borg Queen in Star Trek First Contact, to the Alien in Independence Day, and a lot of work on The Walking Dead, especially the Bicycle Girl comes to mind, which was such an amazing zombie in that first pilot episodes of The Walking Dead. Yeah,
that was a group, of course, but I got to sculpt. What was the first one that you see, that was an honor for sure.
That's quite an impact. It's just an amazing.
Didn't you get an Emmy
performance?
For that?
But yeah,
I was lucky enough to get an Emmy for that. Yeah, if anybody told me getting an Emmy for a zombie, I would have laughed. But it actually happened, so I'm very stoked for that. of all things.
You've worked with Stan Winston, Henson's Creature Shop, the K&B Effects Group, people like Steve Johnson, Rick Lazzarini, Berman Studios, Legacy Effects, and Kevin Yeager, just a few names that you've collaborated with. We actually interviewed Kevin Yeager a few years ago, about his work in Hellraiser Bloodline.
Didn't he direct it or direct one of them?
Well, yes.
Was it Alan Smithy?
It is an Alan Smithy movie. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Never mind. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
No, well, yeah. I mean, and it was the first time he had talked about it in a long time.
Oh, good. So he talked about it.
So he kind of dug up the wound and made it bleed fresh a little bit.
And he also worked for Todd Masters, and we did the commentary on Bordello of Blood.
Oh.
Heck yeah.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. And you've also produced a few independent movies, and you were working on some scripts, if I'm not mistaken, at some point, but we'll get into that stuff. So how did you get started? What was the thing that got the little bug of makeup effects into your young brain?
Well, wow. We can go way far back to like the thing that just got me excited about makeup effects. Of course, Star Wars, E.T. was a big one because I believed that thing was totally real. I was actually bummed to find out that it wasn't, I think that actually changed my path from like painting and drawing to making puppets and makeup effects and sculpting, for sure.
So it starts out with sculpting for puppets and stuff.
And math.
Were you self-taught? Did you go to school for that?
It's funny. We're talking 35 years ago or a little bit more than that. And we're talking when I was very young, there was none of this stuff, no internet, none of that. When I was around a teenager, that magazine Fangoria, I found that at the local magazine shop when those existed. And there was this ad in the back of Fangoria, and it was this guy named Dan Didricks. And I think that's what it was. And you could just send him money, and it was literally just him and a video camera in his room, and he makes a mold, like, right, he sculpts and makes a mold, and it was the most basic thing, but it totally taught me, the basics of making masks. And if once you learn that, you can figure out puppets and you can start learning all the other stuff. Eventually, the Alterian prosthetic how-to videos were very, very helpful as well. And Mr. Ed Martinez helped me a lot. The basics and learning how, where to get this stuff, who is who. I didn't know who Rick Baker was. Like Jim Henson, I knew, Walt Disney. But then the meat and potatoes of the industry, I wasn't aware until Ed taught me all that stuff, which is great. So.
Did he make you sweep the path? Or was that just something he told me I had to do?
He made me wax the floor and,
clean the molds.
The bucket.
That's great stuff. And of course, we got with us, I forgot to introduce them, Nina and Ed, of course, Martinez from Coenobium. And I just got, you spoke about Fangoria. I just got the magazine.
Oh,
cool. That looks awesome.
I need to go pick that up.
Yeah, it's the most recent article, and there's a lot of stuff in there about all the Cenobites and how everything got started. And Ed did it's like an hour and 20 minutes, but he got a chance to talk with the
Josh.
Russells. Yeah, Josh and Sierra.
Sierra, yeah.
And they made a great behind the scenes video about that. And your name kept coming up when it was time to talk about the Pinhead makeup.
Lots of nice shout outs. That was very, very awesome. It was cool to hear it at my current job. They underappreciate me. No, I'm kidding. No, it was a lovely show. It was awesome.
How did you get the job for Hellraiser? Did the Russells contact you, or?
There's this fine gentleman named Michael Rotella. Sorry, I messed up his name. It's okay. People mess mine up all the time. No, he's a good friend I met working at KMB. We were all doing that on our off time because we had a current job. And so he was like, do you want some extra work? And I didn't really know what it was. And he didn't tell me yet, because I think it was still top secret. But always could use the change and really wanted to meet Josh and Sierra. So I took the side work and it was really cool. They have a nice shop space like in the back where they live. And we all known each other for a long time, except for them. So it was cool for us all to hang out and build cool stuff. When I found out what it was, I was just glowing.
We're just huge Hellraiser nerds here, and I've loved this movie so much. The new movie that came out, it's like finally they got it, and it's just the makeup for Pinhead is so beautiful. We know that Keith Thompson worked on a lot of those designs. How did that start out with coming up with a makeup design for Pinhead? I know there were a few like busts that were sculpted with certain ideas and stuff. Did you work on those?
We did a mask. I think Josh was saying they had done a bunch of maquette heads, and then they were starting to get like full size, which was cool. And, and then I think he even cast one out of silicone, was doing some cool translucency tests and stuff. So when I came in, there was definitely an idea of what they wanted to do, but I wanted to pepper in some ideas too. I don't have the drawings with me. Hopefully they can be shown.
We could put those photos on the blog post when the episode is up. If we get some copies of those images, we can definitely put them in the as a slideshow accompanying the show notes for this episode.
I'm just saying this artwork was very cool, but it was also in like a cartoony style. It wasn't, some of this artwork that's coming out lately is just photorealistic, and it's almost like intimidating because you're just like, can I make this as good as this?
Wow.
Like, or I mean, it's this photorealistic,
Yeah,
Like Photoshop or something.
the drawings that I got were a drawing type style, like loose sketches, which is what I prefer, because then I can interpret it and, I can put more thought into it as opposed to just fabricating this idea. So, Josh,
a Xerox machine.
Right, which, there's plenty of those jobs too. And I could do that as well if that's what they wanted. But Josh was super cool about, let's see what you come up with. So we did that first mask, which was great because I wasn't locked into proportions or anything.
Who molded that and cast it in silicone? Was that Josh?
Most likely. I'm not sure, because what I would do is he wouldn't let us take stuff home either, just because, it's top secret. So we were working at his shop. So I was coming in after a full day's work and then work until about 11 or 12. So I would just deliver them whatever I finished, and it would just happen when I wasn't there. So unfortunately, I'm not sure. I can't give a shout out to the molder or the caster, or those guys did a lot of that stuff themselves though, which is pretty awesome. That first mask was cool because I wasn't locked into proportion. So we still didn't know who was going to be cast. So there was talk all different kinds of shape, sizes, people. And so the first one I did was just trying to capture the drawing as much as possible, which kind of had this beautiful childlike, or not child, but porcelain doll, kind of look to it. But of course, I didn't want it to look smooth or anything or super fake. I just tried to make the shapes very androgynous, and so he seemed to like first mask, and that's when I was playing with really making the flaps really deep. And
was that on a Monster Maker's just generic bust?
Yes, it was.
Because they cast Jamie Clayton later in the process. So that's, you guys had to work with just generic stuff at the beginning before they cast it, right?
Yes, it was all, generic stuff, drawings, working out all the stuff in the neck and the sizing of the pins and stuff. But we kind of got lucky with how she kind of looks like the mask at the end of the day, because thin, features in front and a nice thin nose. I mean, the piece on her ends up being a thicker nose than hers because her whole face is covered, including her nose. So I wanted to keep that thinness of her face. So, I was really glad to see when they applied it. I was like, wow, that looks great. Those guys did an amazing job.
I thought it must have been
piece, right? From forehead to chin.
I believe so. That makeup went so fast. I don't want to take the magic out of the situation. Honestly, it was magic how fast we had to do that because of how long it took to get the casting. I seriously had to sculpt that makeup in record time. What happened was I'd get the head, I'd cover it with Alcoat because it was a multi-piece makeup. So it wasn't like the mask where it was just finish the mask and it was a 2-piece thing that stretched over and it still had movement. This was the multi-piece. So I had to work on it for a matter of hours, then take it back. It got broken up, all the separate pieces and which I thought it was a separate chin, but I could be wrong. I was delirious. Seriously, I was delirious.
Yeah, you work a full day and then you go work a full day and a night.
And not to make excuses, but just, this is a project I really, really wanted to be a part of. And the fact that it was I was almost
I'm so glad
because it had to happen so fast. They were leaving to go to Serbia Wednesday and I got the pieces on a Saturday. It was fast. The other thing too is I was kind of a little upset. So I just didn't even have time to take photos of the sculpture. I have a couple of them, but not as much as I normally do. One, I was a little nervous to take photos just because it was so top secret.
Right.
Even though in hindsight, I'm like, why was I nervous? Everybody takes photos now. They even allow cameras on the Star Wars set. Now, I'm old school. They would make you give your camera to them, or they didn't have phones that attached to the internet when I was just out with cameras, So I wish I took a lot more photos of the sculpture, but there are some out there. And I have video of it too, where you can really see the detail. I noticed the silicone really takes a lot of that detail away. So I was kind of glad that I overdid it with the sculpture.
And that's just so convenient that, the Hell Priest has that grid panel. So it makes it so much easier to like mask where the seams are.
Locks in like a key. It's perfect.
Yeah. And I love the fact that the face was just one piece, and that's a little rounded area around the chin. And it gives it almost like you said, it looks almost a little innocent because there's no eyebrows. So it kind of takes away that expression. But on the other hand, it just makes it look like a mask that you could just pull out at any time, and just frames the face so well. It's I love it. I love the new pinhead. Yeah, it's just amazing.
And the neck is very.
And the neck, wow, what a complicated piece at the neck with all those tendons dissected and all that stuff.
I thought, cool, like how that chunk of stuff is stuck in there. I mean, the designs were really impressive, and just how the skin, and I loved how they were naked, and the twisting of the flesh and all that. I mean, I ended up doing a lot of kind of general work on everything. So I could only really claim Pinhead as the thing that I was most involved with. But there's little pieces of me all over the place.
You are the father of the new Pinhead.
I mean, I'm one of the team. I'm very very proud to be part of this team because.
But it's great that you worked on a lot of other characters.
What's funny is I met Dave Grasso on. We were doing makeup on. It's the Tunnicliffe one. It was like
Inferno, wasn't it?
Inferno. Thank you. It was like these two Cenobite girls, and they
these guys just uploaded their old commentary of Inferno.
The Wire Twins. Yeah,
the Wire Twins, Wire Sisters, something like that. Yeah.
What's funny is I just remember having a lot of fun that day on set, and I met Dave, and then I watched the scene again, and I was like, oh man, that was really gross. Like I don't remember.
I like those characters.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and
they were the best part of that movie.
Yes, and
that's all I remember of that movie. Really.
Yeah,
it looks almost like
oh yeah, he's creepy.
The cheddar, the torso cheddar. Was that also you, Jeremy?
Mike Regan played him.
Okay. Did you work on that torso cheddar in Inferno, Jeremy?
No. I only applied makeup on that.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what was so easy about it, because me and Dave are sculptors, but we met applying makeup, and they were pretty.
How did that happen? How did you come upon doing that?
There's this guy named Ron Pipes. Does makeup, and
your old roommate.
Yeah, my old roommate. They just needed extra hands, and I don't think Ron knew too many. I think just everyone was busy, and so he was just like, call those guys. I mean, sculptors know how to do makeup. Sure. A lot of people like to say that it's so hard, and it's a skill set, but a lot of sculptors, we do all of everything. A lot of people like to keep us in our box,
Like you on Candyman too. You're in there putting on all the bee sting makeup.
There you go. I mean, that was crazy. Tony Todd.
I love the Candyman trilogy is really good. I'm not sure if you've seen the new one.
I don't think I've even seen the second one.
There you go.
Oh,
this is where I'm horrible. I end up not watching things. I did watch Hellraiser.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was particularly interesting. Also, the torso of the Hell Priest. We've kept some of the designs from the original Pinhead, which is those slits on the chest, and that go down on both sides of the chest, and the complete absence of any sort of breasts or anything. So there's absolutely nothing there. It's very generic doll-like chest.
You know what? I would love to comment on that, but I'm pretty sure they hirsute over there. I didn't do her body or anything.
What about the neck? Was the neck also sculpted by you?
Yeah, the neck, I believe the mask became the neck blender piece. I mean, I want to say yes, but I don't want to misquote because that was a year and a half ago, and I am 50, so my memory is just...
And there's also that pattern made out of sinew and almost like tendons. They make like the little Leviathan diamond on the chest, and then
those guys did.
Heck of a job. Reminds me of the old like Catholic illustrations where you see the burning heart with like the daggers on it.
Oh,
yeah, something like that. Kind of reminds me of that element in there.
What about those like S-shaped things on the sides of Pinhead's head?
Those were these kind of cool indentations. That was part of the design, these little kind of trenches down her face. I also wanted to kind of create like a thinner slice that kind of open on the ends. So I was hoping for like when she talked, you know, like a razor blade wound, you can't really see unless it moves.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Really get those as fine as possible. When you see the sculpture, you can see how super fine they were. But I'm guessing from looking at it, they probably needed to accent them with some color because I'm sure everything gets washed, you know, especially with silicone. I mean,
the color correction that they used, some people thought it was a little dark, a little too bluish, but I just thought it was great. A lot of people don't really calibrate their screens or anything like that. So sometimes it looks like certain movies are a little darker, but in a really well 4K streaming TV.
It'd be great to see it on a big screen.
Yeah, I would love, yeah, that would be terrific if they could do that. You wouldn't happen to know of any like major like screenings of this movie in LA at the time?
I wish.
Yeah.
They had that premiere last Wednesday. Well, you were so busy working.
Well, there's that. No.
And so going back to the beginning of your career, I got a little excited with the Hell Priest makeup and stuff, but how did you get involved in your first special effects project?
Star Trek or some of those early videos.
Definitely. Yeah. Ed's he can tell you for me. He's my Yes, he's exactly correct. I mean, I'll try to be brief on just how it happened, which is really random. Yes, I hung out with Ed and we did cool stuff, but how I actually met people in Hollywood was in California. In Sacramento, they have the California State Fair. I don't know if they're still doing it. Do they still do that, Ed?
Yeah.
State Fair? Okay, good.
Well, after COVID, I think maybe.
Right. Now. I'm wondering, a lot of these things kind of just went away, but so they had this big display, like Industries of California, had all these different things like, you know, mining and foresting and all these crap. And then one of them was Hollywood. And they had like a camera section and stunts. And then one of them was makeup effects. But there was nothing in there. It was just a bunch of empty cases. And I just thought that was strange. I kept going back, you know, to that section to see if maybe stuff would show up, and it never did. And there was one video playing, and it was a makeup effects reel from this guy named Screaming Mad George. And I knew who that was because of, you know, seeing like making ofs of like Big Trouble in Little China. And this is this amazing artist, if nobody knows.
Reanimator, Bride of Reanimator.
Oh, I mean, just numerous things in the 80s that you would recognize. Society.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He's Japanese, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think he might be back there. I'm not sure because I haven't seen him here in a while, but I could be wrong. Anyway, so I knew who he was because I had just worshipped his work. And all of a sudden, these two lovely ladies came back to this area, and I was like, excuse me, can we watch that video again? She's like, you know who that is? I'm like, is that Screaming Mad George? She's like, yeah. I'm like, where's all your stuff? Like, are you supposed to have? And they told me they had all these cool props that all these people, including Screaming Mad George, were going to put on display for them, but their U-Haul got stolen. They had, yeah. I know. And so they were devastated. And I used to live in Fairfield, which was like 15, 20 minutes or maybe half hour from Sacramento. And so I was like, look, I could bring some of these goofy sculptures I've done, or like I brought my molds and this mask, which I'll give you one guess what my first mask I ever made. A zombie, yeah.
A zombie, okay.
But I ended up doing their little booth for them and putting up Fango posters and stuff. I didn't want to ruin my Fangorias, but, you know, took out the posters and
The centerfolds.
Anyway, and so one of them was friends with this guy named Chris Biggs, and she was like, why don't I introduce you? So that guy was cool enough to invite me down, and the first big Hollywood project was this music video for Megadeth. You ever hear of Megadeth?
Yeah, of course.
The guy from Metallica used to be in Metallica, and now he's in Megadeth.
Yes.
Dave Mustaine.
It was, and totally nice guy. And so
Brian's into heavy metal. He likes Guar and stuff.
And yeah, it was cool because they have their mascot, you know, it's like the skull guy, kind of like, you know, Eddie, like,
Right, sure.
With this, you know,
has Eddie.
So I got to sculpt that for one of my first things. And then there was just a bunch, it was called Hangar 18. And there was a bunch of aliens, and it was like, you know, Chris is like, just come down and we'll make stuff. And so it was totally that scenario, staying up all night, making goofy stuff, but actually getting paid for it. And so
what was that video called?
Hangar 18. Pretty cool video.
Oh, I found it. Okay, cool. So the guy with the chains and the skull head checking people in the monitor, that was sculpted by you?
That was me.
Yeah, awesome. Cool.
My first thing. There's like a cyborg chick and
yeah,
you know,
I have a photo of that you gave me.
There's an alien that's like on a lab, you know, just a lot of goofy things that we all just kind of did.
Classic sci-fi monsters.
Chris Biggs and Richard Snell. And Richard was doing all this cool foam fabrication stuff, which I had no clue how to do that. We did a little bit. Remember, Ed?
Yeah, you take hot foam latex and you pour it out without baking it, and you can push texture pads into it and stuff and make it into a creature just right on the scene, you know, just on your lab table right there.
Yeah, well, and then the haunted house stuff we did. Me and Ed did a haunted house.
We did a Hellraiser.
Which we
Was
did.
Was that the one where you guys had the big engineer monster?
Yeah. Jeremy sculpted the engineer's head.
Oh, you sculpted the engineer's head. Cool. I've seen a picture of it. Really amazing.
That was so much fun. That was hilarious because it was just depending on who was playing the engineer, it was much less scary, more funny.
I gotta ask though, the alien in Hangar 18, he kind of has vibes of being like E.T. Did you sneak in a little bit of E.T. into him?
Well, it had to be sympathetic.
Yeah.
I think Chris did that one. I can't remember, but there was a bunch of us going all over the place. But anyway, so from that, it was cool because we were all hanging out on his couch and stuff. And then one day he's like, hey, you're going to have to get a place. And I'm like, you don't like me? And he's like, no, we're gonna get Star Trek 5 or 6. We did just a shit ton of Klingon. It was, but they were like, you have to move here.
The turtle heads, the Klingons.
Right. Oh, yeah, the ridges. Yep.
That was a neat job because Richard wanted each one of them to have a different pattern, which goes against all the other. They all pretty much had the same look on all the other ones, but. So we each got to come up with our own Klingon, which is kind of cool. And background masks and, all that stuff. So.
And Richard Snell went on to be famous from Pirates of the Caribbean. And unfortunately, he's passed away now.
Yeah, unfortunately. Definitely, he is part of what brought me out here for sure. So I owe Ed, I owe a lot of people. Very lucky.
Your talent is just so good that you would have gotten hired regardless if you even knew me.
Start. No, I'm kidding. No, really. No, I'm kidding. I was very lucky. When I was doing Candyman, I was working for this place called Makeup Effects Lab, MEL. Yep. And those guys definitely, were cool and patient with me learning and honing the craft.
But you were such a good sculptor. They had you doing all the likeness sculptures and things.
Yeah, you know, cleaning up life casts and stuff. That's the thing about my job too, though. A job like Hellraiser is so few and far between. I mean, very lucky to be part of that. It's funny, my friend called me out on Instagram and he was like, "You had that Hellraiser poster on your door." And I'm like, that's how stupid I am. I didn't realize it was my friend. I just thought it was some random Instagram person. I'm like, how did they know? Oh, that's
some rando.
That's great. I remember the Undiscovered Country. There was a lot of makeups there. And then you got into Mortal Kombat?
Yep, and that's when I started working for Todd Masters, was Mortal Kombat. And, you know, he did a lot of fun stuff.
Bordello of Blood, and he worked on a lot of the Tales from the Crypts and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of those. Yeah, and just, you know, there's a lot of like bodies, stuff that pays the bills. But every now and then
you did a lot of the alien stuff for him.
Sure.
Oh yeah, we did this commercial where we, you know, it was a lot of like.
You played an alien for him, I think.
There's one where I played an alien. Yeah, that one was cool because I got to sculpt the alien, and then they like mech'd the eyes and stuff, so they were actually blinking, and then they blended it off into my mouth. And that was for a German shoe commercial. That, you know.
Wow. Probably hard to find on YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the brand? It was like some really cheesy brand, and
sounds like a fun commercial though, if it's got an alien and stuff.
Yeah, he's worked on lots of stuff.
Yeah.
it was like, I'm an alien, I'm shooting a laser at these guys, but these guys, because they're wearing the shoes, you know, they outrun the laser. The laser
Of course. Yeah.
the laser comes back and it gets me, and I have to say my German line, which was "Kommst du glauben?"
Yeah.
What's so funny is they ended up dubbing over my voice anyway, which I knew they would. And they dubbed it English, and they went, "Unbelievable!" But why did you have me learn German then?
They had a line in German, and then they replace it with English. That's
Man,
that's crazy. Ed was talking about how Gary Tunnicliffe posted that you worked on Hellraiser Inferno, but in your IMDb, it says here that at one point you also worked in Hellraiser Bloodline for additional makeup and animatronic effects. It was the movie in space, right? Pinhead in space. There was
yeah,
like
there was the Chatterer dog was a puppet, right?
Todd Masters came in and did some of the Angelique, rebirthing body stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I worked on everything that Todd did for a while. So if this is where I suck, because people tell me
you can't even remember your own.
Sorry.
It happens. I mean, sometimes it's just a quick job here and there and doesn't register as much as for the rest of us who are obsessive about this stuff.
Like I was talking to Joe about that movie Mirrors, and I have the DVD, and there's like a featurette on there about your helping to do the death of the girl in the bathtub scene.
Oh my God.
It was so creepy.
It's there. What is this featurette? Or is it showing?
You've never seen it?
Really pull my hair out and start crying up to a ball. Because that was an effect. So that's a beautiful example of not only do I just sculpt.
Yeah, you were on set.
That was for KMB, and me and Greg Nicotero and Mike McCarty were there. And
for those of you who aren't familiar, it's Kiefer Sutherland in this film about mirrors in this abandoned department store.
Super creepy. He's like the night watchman of the place where all these mirrors are, right?
It's very eerie, and I liked it.
I do too. I think it's a great film.
But CG wasn't as simple and as widely used now. So it was something that us as practical effects people, we want to say we can do it. It's like we can do this. Don't worry, we got it. But that effect, she pulls her jaw off. Believe it or not, good majority of that gag is CG free. There's one scene where her jaw is supposed to be coming off by itself, so they rod removed, but we never green screened her skin ever. It was always
like what they did with Voight in the end of Hellraiser.
Yeah, like we didn't do that because it wasn't easy to do that back then. So, But it was easy to get rid of a rod. Look, you don't want to go on set and things not work right. And it's just the worst feeling ever. You've had all this time to prep, and I just always want things to go well. So I end up, overbuilding or stressing myself out or whatever.
Yeah.
Test.
It mirrors that makeup with the girl who, her mirror image kind of like pulls her jaw apart. And then it's just hanging there. And it's like amazing how you managed to make it look like it's subtracting from her face, even though the jaw is kind of dangling.
Illusion.
Yeah, it totally looks like the angle or whatever. It just totally looks like half of her face is missing. Yeah, of course.
A lot of tests, a lot of sweat, a lot of gray hair. No.
Where did you shoot that? Was that LA?
No, that was like Romania or something.
You went location.
It was crazy because that year they in Romania, they voted being gay is illegal. So I was like, sweet. All right. This is safe. And then one of the guys like got arrested for being gay or something. It was
really
terrible. He had to like
holy shit.
Like it was a creepy situation. It was honestly the movie. It was kind of.
Has that ever happened before? Was that the first time?
That's what we heard when I was there. They were like, "Oh, guess what? They just voted being gay illegal." I'm like, awesome.
"Oh yeah, there's a lot of crap like that going on in certain countries right now. It's just disgusting." It was
a little like, okay,
yeah.
And what country?
Prancing around, hooking up or anything, but I am doing.
Your husband with you,
of course. Working on the Undiscovered Country gave you connections to work in The First Contact.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, working on that project,
Was that Ron Pipes again?
Ron was part of the guys. He wasn't a partner, but he was definitely heading up the hair department in with all those Klingon wigs and stuff. And, Ron's been in the business for a long time.
Yeah.
He used to work for Kevin Yeager. Ron's the infamous, Chucky story.
Yeah, he looks like Chucky.
Yeah. He liked it for a while. He's like, you
don't like it anymore.
But now he'll be like, no, that's silly. It's like, you know what? Okay, whatever. But Ron definitely introduced me, the guys at Optic Nerve when Bullich was still with us, and did some work for them. Just eventually went to meet Todd. And when Todd got First Contact, we started working on it. But let me just make something clear. I didn't work on her makeup. I didn't do the design of her cowl. I did design a makeup that goes on her, which is her neck and her shoulders. And I designed that skull and she has like vertebrae hanging.
And the female board.
When Picard ends her misery and he kind of breaks that metallic spine.
I designed that thing.
Alice Krieg.
Super, super like, oh shit, we have to build this thing moment. So I pulled that thing out of my butt. And was very, awesome. To see how well it worked. In fact, I was like looking through stuff in here and I couldn't believe I still have a casting of that thing somewhere.
Really?
Wow. In fact, just, I'll show this to the guys watching.
Oh, you got it handy?
All right.
I just found this. This was the maquette. So this thing older. This thing is like 20 something years old. This is old.
Wow.
But you can tell how wacky the proportions are and stuff. I mean, this is like one of my first maquettes ever, Todd likes posting pictures of this thing too. They put her in a rig. Again, like CG was still kind of becoming a thing. So they actually physically lowered her with this piece that we made to hide her body. Her body's like on this slant board, and they lower her into the bodysuit. So I sculpted the bodysuit. I sculpted everything basically from the neck down.
Oh, amazing. Such a good design. Did you know that they brought it back for the new Picard series?
Yeah, he works on it. He's working on the third one.
No, I didn't work on the new. No, that was Neville and Neville Page and Vincent. Right. And no, I didn't work on her. I did do some of the post-Borg guys. How they I don't want to spoil it, but post-Borg guys.
It's not a secret.
Right.
Yeah, I left the business for a little bit. And then when I came back, that was like one of my first jobs, which I was like, this is hilarious. Like, here we are again.
This again.
So you're talking about the rehabilitated Borgs that they had in Picard? Is that what you? Yeah. Right.
Did a couple of those designs, and then I did a couple Romulans. Like they have that really kind of pointy.
Did you work with Gary Tunnicliffe on those Borgs? Because he worked on those too, I think.
Did he? Which ones for?
The new ones for the 3rd season of Picard.
No. I only worked on the first season with Vincent.
Cool.
Weird, like alien thing that kind of looked like an elephant, like goofy tusk. Star Trek aliens, some of them are cool. We'll just stop there.
And zombies are always cool.
Yeah. Sometimes they just have a different haircut.
Yeah.
Sometimes
or nose, some weird nose.
They're an alien. Yeah. I'm a Star Trek guy. I've always been like Hammerhead. Now that's
Walrus Man.
Walrus Man. Terrible name, but great looking name. That's
Snaggletooth.
Yeah.
And Walrus Man.
Yeah.
He's always played with toys too. That's the other thing.
And what about Species? You made some Species.
Oh yeah, Species 3, right?
That was for Joel Arlo. That was awesome.
I think it was the 3rd one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Species 3.
That's the one where the astronaut comes back to Earth, right? And then he's infected with the species virus or whatever.
There's a nice featurette about it, and it's got the suit that he sculpted on. It's amazing, good sculpture.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
I gotta pull that out. I moved recently, so most of my DVDs and Blu-rays are all like in a giant pile of boxes inside a closet right now. But I really gotta.
Me. I can't find stuff.
At one point, you wonder why do I have all these things? But yeah,
For the cat to climb.
For when the great social apocalypse happens, I'll have something to barricade myself in the house and watch.
Yeah, there you go. Do you still have all your media? Like, do you have your
I've
DVD?
got a whole like shelf of VHS right here.
Yeah, there you go.
A whole shelf of VHS.
Awesome.
Yep. So I'm still one of those weirdos who picks up trash from Goodwill's, brings them home.
Well, you've seen my disaster. Although I'm wasting a lot of room on just goofy stuff that I just can't throw away for some reason, like props and things. Like my kid's done with Legos, but for some reason I keep them.
Because you get your blood, sweat, and tears in those things.
Oh man, they're great therapy. Here, just since we're showing fun stuff, let me just show you this real quick.
Whoa.
I was lucky enough to win one of these. We worked on it at the shop. They only sent one over.
Oh,
it's a predator.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Big mouth.
Big
open.
and stupid. This thing.
Like yeah.
Looks amazing.
Got a big snarly mouth.
Is that from the Predators that you worked on at KMB?
That was Predators with
yeah, the one on the alien planet.
Yeah, Jeremy sculpted on that one.
Oh, you mean
I love that
Quantum
movie.
yada yada yada?
Yes.
Oh, we can't say that. It's politically incorrect.
It's raping.
I love
Oh, say it.
I love the Predators. It brought such a nice breath of fresh air and introduced more variety with the Predator race. I mean, I'm sure they.
And they're hunting dogs and stuff.
Yeah, they were great.
The guy that owns a taco business now. Who's that actor?
Danny Trejo.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he's got a business now. He's a respectable man.
A donut shop or something.
But hey, I liked that movie. I mean, some of the acting kind of bugged, but I thought
other creatures are good.
I thought they were neat.
Yeah,
it was a lot of
I
fun.
could still see back then, and I thought so too.
Oh well, good. I didn't sculpt that. That head was sculpted by Joey. Me and Aki did all the body stuff. And then I believe I sculpted like the regular Predator head, but not the Berserker was Joey. Excellent sculpture. I've always loved that thing.
It's always been a great design ever since the first movie when he takes off his mask near the end and the weird things in his mouth. Like, it's just such a good makeup. It's such an amazing sci-fi monster.
The mandibles.
Yeah, the mandibles.
Yeah. The Masters, Steve Wang and Matt Rose.
Matt Rose.
The late, great Matt Rose.
Yeah, both friends.
We're old, man. It's weird. They're all passing on.
The old school.
It's good though. I'm still doing this stuff. It's crazy. Like,
practical effects are still in vogue.
Yeah, I mean, this particular Hellraiser had a lot of practical effects. I see a lot of people in reviews and stuff. I thought, I didn't like the CGI. I was like, there's not a lot of CGI. I mean, a lot of that stuff is practical and you can actually see it.
You're not understanding sometimes what's real and what's practical.
I know.
Fake.
Yeah, I think people have taken that as granted now that whatever they see is going to be made in a computer. And it's like, nope. It's there's definite.
They were so clean. Look, they were so nice and clean and just well done that I think people thought
they're fooled. Some things they're not CGI, they think are CGI.
Oh, totally. When the picture first came out, I was reading the comments, and one of my favorite comments ever was "too much CGI." I was like, hell yeah!
What are you smoking?
That's what they say when they don't like it before they even watch the movie.
Right. No, Doug Bradley, no Hellraiser.
Some of the comments below the video that we put up said that I was surprised to find out how much was practical. So,
well, good.
There's a lot of, and then the CG that's in it, I thought was very stealth. I remember seeing in the designs, like how like the hands kind of open at the at the end.
Yeah, the Weeper.
I was like, how the hell are they going to do this? Like, this is going to be. When I saw it, I really liked how it didn't look like this giant setup, or it didn't look like this big thing. It looked literally like they were on set, camera was pointed, and it happened, and he says good CG, because I was like,
that's what you want out of practical.
The way they did it was they put a green screen glove before they put the hand on it.
Yeah.
And then part of the makeup would just come off, and the other two fingers would be like showing up green along with the rest of the hand. And so they could just take that off. Yeah.
Yeah. But it looked.
Watch my video.
It looked legit as far as the CG. Sometimes there's that disconnect. I thought it was a great blending of both. I thought it looked great. And so that's what I think maybe people were like, too much CG, because it just looks so clean and lovely, which
blending of both.
At first when I saw the images, I'm like, and when I saw the trailer, I'm like, it's kind of bright. They didn't really show anything. I was a little nervous it was going to be too lit. And that's one cool thing about, the old Cenobites with the black leather and stuff. They can really hide in the shadows and stuff. And
you
don't know what the hell you're looking at. With these things, they're just so beautiful that you want to watch them. You want to see what's going on. And so I like that some of these shots were really featuring the work, which, as part of the
clean design.
It was like, hey. And then the CG didn't look obnoxious. And it looked like.
I did a lot of pausing to look at the Cenobites closer. There were some, like the mother, that we didn't see very much. She was just a quick shot.
Yeah. Sometimes they put so much effort into something and then you only see them for 2 seconds and that's it. And it's like, I wanted to see more of that.
Yeah,
that's what the behind the scenes are for.
Yeah, that's got to be a little frustrating sometimes for the artist. That's like, I sculpted this whole thing and like it just shows for 1 second back there in the doorway. It's all part of the movie, right?
Yeah.
It's all part of the experience. Every little bit falls into place.
I've done stuff that I absolutely loved, like just because they didn't know how to shoot it, like that they have this thing, but they're not sure what to do. This is the end where they're like the stoner guys and then the to an end,
They're bar hopping all through the night. Yeah.
Comes up and all this stuff. Well, that demon, that cool monster we did a suit for it, and I did this giant head and was just so excited, and has multiple layers of teeth. It was just crazy. Mario Torres did the horns. I was just very excited, and just didn't even shoot it, stuff like that. Or Mikey did the big oversized Predator. He showed me these pictures of the oversized Predator for that last one. The one before, not this last one, the one before.
The Predator, it's called, I think.
that's overwhelmingly panned. I haven't seen it.
I liked it. I saw it. I thought it was good. It's got
the
more
autistic boy and all that.
it's got more predator dogs, and you see a lot of
the
those.
autistic boy.
Yeah.
Where you get
Yeah.
the box.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one, Ed.
Right.
I thought it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, but Mike, did this giant cool alien and stuff, and he was like, nope, cut out.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh.
that sucks.
Word. You have to build up your,
Yeah, you got to not care,
So what happens to those things after they're not used? Do they just end up in someone's garage?
Good question.
Sometimes production wants them because they bought them, and
They paid for them.
they'll go into some producer's office or something. If it's a big company that has like a storage, they keep everything more, they have these warehouses of stuff. They also
like the Indiana Jones warehouse.
Right. Yeah.
and they have big auctions every year where they sell props and stuff.
There's an ongoing auction, I believe, with some stuff from the new Hellraiser.
Nothing good.
It's a lot of like clothes and jewelry and stuff. It's not really like it's not really Cenobite
Josh
stuff.
told me he still has everything.
I've paged through it a little bit.
You speak Hellraiser merchandise, you got to have a box. All the different versions of
the new box.
Yeah,
I like what they did with the box. I thought that was neat.
I did too. Such a cool idea.
Yeah,
Somebody should come out with a commercially available one.
Yeah,
or
that would
app or something. No, I'm kidding. That's the next thing. Playing with
the action figures.
Summons, the Hell Priest.
Yeah, for sure. So
Halloween.
I think I need some Mego-sized action figures. I'm just saying.
There you go.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be Funkos of the Hell Priest at some point. There's Funkos for everything.
Yeah. There's a Funko bicycle girl, right? The big headed.
Oh,
that's great.
Wow.
We might have one. I cheese out every now and then. I buy Walking Dead merchandise all the time.
Well, if they make an action figure of something you sculpted, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
There's a bicycle girl action figure where basically it's just her going like, it's the worst. It comes with a piece of ground and then her.
Yeah.
It doesn't even come with a bicycle. It's the worst.
That's great.
Thing. I might even have it somewhere. Anyway.
We can hardly wait for the Pinhead action figure to come out.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited. I think that might be a tough one to make, right? With all those pins.
It would be.
Man, I really hope
I don't know how NECA did the Doug Bradley one with all those little pins that are on, the Pinhead that they came out with, and they're flexible, so they're not little hard pins; they're soft vinyl.
That's smart. Wow. Was it a 12-inch? I forgot.
No, it was only an 8-inch
or 6, I think.
Here's $1 million question though. Do you know how many pins you ended up putting on that makeup for the Hell Priest?
72. No, I a lot. It's the cross hatching. I probably knew that number at some point.
That's fine.
Maybe 146.
I was just curious.
Sarah said she thought it might be 146.
Yeah. There's a lot.
And there's different sections that had pins, and then you have to add those sections.
Well, the cowl had 80, Joel said.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's probably around the 100 and something mark.
It was a lot. And it looks like they got rid of a few. Like she had one coming directly out the center, and then she had two coming out. According to the design, she had two coming out there and one here, and I think they got rid of those, which I think it was for the best.
Yeah, I think because when she was going to speak, those things were going to be a little wobbly, maybe.
And I think there was talk of like CGing those, but
fixing, yeah.
Yeah, they got rid of those, and it almost kind of looks. I'm looking at it now. It almost kind of looks. I didn't grab a copy, but these lines that are next to the mouth, I think they got rid of those too. But I could be wrong. I just remember a lot of very fine detail.
And there was a bust image that I saw that actually looked like instead of pins, they were more like nails.
That was a prototype, early version.
Okay, early version. Yeah.
One those guys did. I like when she pulled it out and it was like that long.
Yeah.
They could use it as a weapon.
It's kind of a throwback to the third Hellraiser, which is the first time
pulls him
Pinhead
out of the
takes
church.
out. Yeah, and there's a little kind of worm wrapped around it, and it's a whole thing. But yeah,
Like
but
Hatkins.
I like that they kept bringing into the movie little bits and things that worked from other
Hellraisers.
Yeah,
you got to, you know. I mean, I loved how it was its own thing, but it you know, it understood what was
drawbacks to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
callbacks.
It felt like David Bruckner understood what made it awesome. You know, like why those movies were so great.
Like the Dr. Chenard influences of Voight.
The end, that whole thing, and I liked it.
I really hope we can get a 4K Blu-ray of it.
Yeah, physical media.
I want it on my shelf.
But you
and
guys,
then I'll put it on VHS.
Okay, there you go. Because like, you like these movies
with a lot of commentary and documentaries and behind the scenes.
Okay, so that stuff, yeah, that makes it worth it. Because I don't know, these movies to me lately are just looking so clean that they look fake to me. Like I guess I'm the old guy who likes the film grain, you know, or the
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I don't know. I think it helps.
What was that film that you produced like?
There was one called Sleight, which was a lot of fun. They were both a lot of fun. We were supposed to actually do 3, but ended up having issues.
How did that all happen?
It was actually kind of crazy. My husband used to have a detox center. He used to be in drug rehab. He met some people. They went into business together, and you know, the business became profitable, I guess, and they wanted to start producing movies.
Invest in some movies.
Yeah. So each person, you know, put in some money, and I was like part of the sell.
You're the one who knows the most about movies around here.
Yeah, it's just like he could do the effects, and he knows how to, you know. And then we met some student producers. It just kind of turned into this beautiful thing. At the moment, we met this kid, Mickey Keating, who wrote and directed Carnage Park. That was the first one, and it was just kind of like, as a producer, I didn't want to like put myself into it. I was like, I want to just get the ball rolling. Let's make this film. Let's do this. And so it happened. And it's a terrible movie. No, it's one of those like Hills Have Eyes kind of unfortunate, you know, being in a bad place at the wrong time kind of movies, which I've always I'm more of a fantasy guy. That's why I like Hellraiser and like Freddy and those kinds of guys. Like, you know,
you like Henson.
Well, right. I like fantasy oriented things, not just a guy with a knife, you know. So it's about some hillbilly in the woods.
I saw the trailer. It was a really good trailer. It got me interested. It looks like it's a lot of fun.
It's fun. We're talking about Carnage Park. And then the other movie was called Sleight, which I thought was a really cool story. It was about this kid magician guy who basically is super smart, and he invents this technology where he can move things kind of like Jedi powers. And it helps him with his magic tricks, but then also ends up helping him save the day. That one was on Netflix for a while. It was like number 5 top watched one week. So I was kind of stoked that we made it. If you get curious, one's called Sleight, one's called Carnage Park.
Who wrote it? Just come to you as a finished
Carnage
script?
Park? Did you say?
Carnage Park was written and directed. Yeah, they you know, people pitched these ideas, and we went with these. And the other one was, I think it was written by J.D. Dillard, and he also directed it. And he's gone on to do a couple of things recently.
Oh, cool.
He, I heard, got signed on to reimagine The Fly, but I also heard there are problems with that.
J.D. Dillard has done some TV shows. He's worked on the Twilight Zone TV series.
Oh, it is, yeah.
The new one, the
another one called Utopia.
Jordan Peele one.
Produced by him. Yeah.
Is there anything on Mickey? I haven't really checked.
I got to check that. Give me just a moment. So I was looking at Sleight. Looks really cool. I'm actually looking at the trailer right now. But
I know we're jumping around all over the place, but Jeremy also worked on, you know, Greg Nicotero has been directing the new Tales from the Crypt. I mean,
the
Creep Show, right?
Been working with those guys forever. It's awesome. And we've been making just like tons of cool creatures for the show, man. It's been neat. And I think Greg's directing a few of them. He's a good director.
Oh, yeah. You were asking about Mickey Keating. He's done a couple of things since then. 2017, he did Psychopaths. And in 2021, he was working in another movie called Off Season.
Great, though. See, these are people we wanted to kind of be responsible for starting them out, you know? So to hear
that they've gone on
is a beautiful thing, you know?
That's awesome.
With movie making and Hollywood and all that, I will say, you know, you got to watch your back. There's a lot of distributing companies or distribution companies, and there's ways that Hollywood
rip you off.
Yeah, it's like not only did they rip us off, the customer, you know, but they rip each other off. It's a small town, we'll say, you know, and it was hard getting it out there, but I'm really glad that we did it and would love to do it again. I would just do it differently.
I'll have to watch Sleight. Looks really good. And Carnage Park, I saw the trailer, so I thought it looked a lot of fun.
Definitely
going to check those out.
The magic one, Sleight, sounds very interesting.
Yeah. If we could jump to one of the creepiest dolls ever put on film, it's Annabelle. It says here that you were a sculptor in Annabelle. Did you come up with the doll?
No. I just did some gore gags.
Okay.
Because like I remember talking to a guy at work and I was like, why is Annabelle on there? And then my friend reminded me of some gag we did. Like gore gag. You know, it's like if you just, there's so many faces and body parts have come through, you know, so it's funny because like I'll see a person, I'm like, oh, I did a fake head of that guy, but have no clue who
Don't know who he is.
I remember faces pretty well.
I worked with Jeremy on an Amityville film, and we did a fake head for a guy. Never met him. You know, we saw the movie. It's like, still never met him. Don't know whose fake head I made, but we made a fake head.
Oh.
You just get like a mold or something like the casting
we meet the guy, we mold him, but that's,
right. Yeah. So you never get to know what kind of scene it's going to be, where it's going to be in the movie.
If it's like one of our jobs where we're doing it, then we know exactly what it is. But you know, when I work for these companies, sure, they just one after another.
Just outsourcing. I need 2 ripped legs and a couple of arms for like an accident on a procedural.
You can save a lot of money by like if you make a fake body of someone, you just take like a generic body, get their life cast in their hands. You know, sometimes you have to open their mouth, so you have to cast play. Sometimes you have to literally, you know, cut their jaw off to where it's like, you know, and then like their eyes have to be open, so you have to carve out 2 ways.
Jerry's really good at that, though. That sort of thing, you know, making somebody's mouth open when it wasn't, or making their eyes open when they weren't. You know, he's really good.
A lot of this job is doing a lot of life cast correction. I've always had perfect vision, and I'm known for fine detail. And it's true, kids. When you get older, the vision goes.
Hey, Sonny.
Yeah.
A little shaky now, and
you start pulling things out further away to read them because
I know I hate that.
Yeah.
My reading glasses, which is I just remember just thinking, I don't need that shit, and then boom, here we are.
Whippersnappers.
The Optivisor is your friend.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing pictures of Dick Smith where he had all these lenses on his Optivisor.
Oh,
I used to think, like, what the hell is that? You know?
I love it.
Wait, what was the Optivisor, Ed?
It's just this thing you wear on your head that's like a magnifying device. And, you know,
I use it all the time.
Yeah, as I was going blind, I had them just because I was painting D&D miniatures and stuff. You need it for
that's where I've seen them.
Detail, you know. But then as I started going blind, I started using it, you know. And then when I completely went blind, now Nina's using them, you know.
Oh man.
I was just imagining something like from Brazil where the guy puts like the big lens in front of his eye.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is a little bit like that.
But I used to see pictures of Dick Smith all the time in Cinefex and stuff, where he's got all these, lenses in front of his normal glasses, as well,
It really is such a long filmography page that we have here for you. I don't think we can cover all of it, but what was one of the projects that you felt you had the most fun in?
Yeah, I got to tell you, one of the most fun, this isn't going to be a very fun answer to hear, but, to be honest, one of the most fun was working on these haunted houses with Ed, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, here's the thing,
we did have a hell of a lot of fun.
It was just, you're in these environments, it's like, it's one thing. Yes, I love.
And you're young and you're naive and you don't know about all the shit that's going on in Hollywood yet,
And they're just, you get to play, it's like, you're not worried about like egos. You're not worried about saying the wrong thing. I mean, Hollywood is, I love it. It's fun. It's kept me alive, but it's a business, and you can, I know
it's got its ups and downs.
With my mouth, I'm surprised I still work because I don't have an edit button very well. You meet these like pretentious kind of hoity-toity actor pussy. Sorry, did I say? I mean, no. I mean, I joke a lot too, but some people.
Well, he's always been a straight shooter. It's like that's the thing. You meet people and you either like them or you don't. And that's same thing with Hollywood actors. It's like you meet these famous people. Sometimes they're really down to earth. They're great people. Sometimes they're assholes.
Yeah.
You don't. Have an asshole. It's we all are here because we love this stuff.
That's why.
So the fun projects, I mean that I admire to my heart are definitely things like that. The other, get to see the fruits of your labor. It's like when you scare someone in those, you see it. You know what I'm saying? It versus you have to go to the theater every time to
sit in the back of the theater to see if the people are jumping when the scare happens.
It's funny that you say, the two real quick moments. I'm sitting in my garage and I don't know why, but these two things just landed on my feet. This one was really fun. This was for that movie Bones.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Big jaw with a big open.
Yes. That. And then I don't know why these just, first of all, what are these, right? Like, who knows what photographs are? Sorry, Ed. It's like this.
That's okay.
They're NFTs on paper.
This big. All right, and then this one. try to see if you can see what's going on here.
Oh my gosh! You got your hand inside the body, right?
It's. You ever see? I think it was like Me, Myself, and Irene. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Inside a giant body.
Right.
His hand
That's
stuck.
a Jim Carrey movie, I think.
So what so sometimes we get to make really goofy
cool stuff,
like a cow's vagina. I think that's what it was. With his hand stuck in it. Or
I remember you worked on
priceless.
those giant props too.
Yes,
Priceless.
I sculpted some of these. You ever see? You guys look pretty young. There's this movie called Toys with
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams.
Yeah. Yep.
And that was one of my first kind of big time
Foam
gig.
carving, I think, right?
What's that?
Foam carving.
It was foam carving as well as, wet clay sculpt. We did all those toys. And that's where I met Jose Fernandez, who's one of the top.
He's awesome. He's got a little Batman tattoo on his arm.
He's another just incredibly, that's the greatest thing about this business is getting to meet all these great people involved that love this stuff. Growing up in Fairfield, I was pretty much the only one I knew that liked this stuff, until I met someone like Ed or whatever. But like growing up, I was the weirdo that tried to get my friends to
in your high school.
I didn't grow up in the United States. I'm actually from Portugal. I live in Ohio now, but it was even harder for me because you couldn't find Fangorias in like the 80s in Portugal unless someone bought it in London or something and brought it back to close to where you live and ended up putting it on a used magazine rack or something like that. I mean, it was really hard for me to be able to connect to the whole Hollywood thing. So I would see the movies on TV. I would see the movies in the theater. But then if you wanted to buy like Fangoria, you'd really have to look up and down, especially before the whole Amazon, eBay kind of thing where you could get whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
So,
or the internet for that matter.
or the internet. Yeah. Cause that only happened when I was in college. You know, that's 93, 94. That's when I started getting on.
Don't know how lucky they are.
Yeah. I remember connecting to the internet at campus. Yeah. Then you actually start finding the internet and finding out all the stuff, and
VHS
DVDs
stores.
and featurettes became a thing, because who had featurettes on VHS tapes? There was nothing like that.
Hey, there's laser discs.
There were laser
had,
discs.
Yes, in the 80s, man. I love
and then-
laser discs.
Yeah. And then finally we started knowing more about the whole craft behind the movie, so that for some people that just puts them on a track.
Yep, totally.
You want to, at least for me, I wanted to, anything that fascinated me or made me go, how did they do that? I was
You're
addicted.
there.
I got one of my favorite movies.
That was why it was so much fun for us, because we were discovering.
Oh, Wizard of Oz.
I got like a 50th anniversary.
Discover something like watching a late night movie, you know, and you are like the only one up in your house, and it's midnight, and you're sitting there with the TV turned down low, and you're watching this Godzilla movie or something. It's like, you know, that's the feeling we get, you know.
But my point was going to be that, for example, when you think about a movie like The Wizard of Oz, which for a lot of us was probably one of the first big things that we saw with appliances and, you know, special makeup effects and stuff. You got the Tin Man. He's a little rusty.
Lion.
You got the Cowardly Lion with all those
The monkeys.
amazing
Monkeys, I love them.
And then you find out the story behind that. Like the first Tin Man was another actor, and then they put some weird makeup on him that almost killed him.
Makeup made
you
of
know,
sick.
made of like powdered metal or something. I don't know what it was, but it was toxic. And then you start hearing those stories, and you're like, wow, this industry has seen a lot of interesting stories.
Well, that's funny you say. I mean, you're like reading off of my script basically, because The Wizard of Oz. That was the other one that I was going to say. I mean, look, I even went so far as to put him on my phone. The Tin Man especially was one of those things as a child. I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? You know, you know, I mean, you
How
hear
can
about
I do that?
all the terrifying stories, you know, you hear later, but yeah, just the fact that everything was blended in so nice and everything, you know, it's a pretty clean looking movie.
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean, even to this day.
yeah, it really is to this day one of my favorites, and it's beautiful. Never been a musical person, but that.
Or Planet of the Apes or something like that. That's like, you know, old technology, but it still holds up.
Yeah. I didn't like the music in that one. No, I'm kidding.
But you were just about to escape.
Sorry. But so those fun projects, you know, they're usually like ones I don't remember what the project was, but I'll remember the fun. I can tell you one that was really not fun if you want.
Do it.
Okay.
Spill the beans.
I'm not gonna say the names of the people involved, but one time, and I wish I was joking, I molded with several other very angry people actual dead cow, like
Smelly.
Oh.
real live, well, dead,
Real dead live cow.
as we speak, not like frozen, not like dehydrated, no, off of the, right after they just did the like, I don't know how this guy got them to deliver this thing to us. In one night, did a silicone brush up mold of a cow, and by the morning, the whole thing
enormous.
It had increased in size by double. So this mold that was
a flexible rubber mold.
We were pulling this stuff off, and the skin was coming off as we're pulling. And it was just to make a fake dead cow.
How gross!
Stupidest thing in the world. And of course, it was summer in Sun Valley, and it was.
Whose idea was that?
I can't say.
Also, I imagine overnight the cow would have started getting bloated and stuff.
That's what happened.
That's what he was saying.
And
Yeah,
right,
never
yeah.
known, and it wasn't fully cured. And so it expanded with
Spring
the
businesses were coming over going, what the hell are you guys doing?
Oh,
It
God.
was, I've recently found a picture too, and it's,
man.
it's this
I would
picture,
imagine that there exist warehouses with cow mannequins that you could use for that.
right?
Well, not
Right?
if it's totally dead. You know, like
Yeah.
they have a certain.
It was
It
like,
doesn't have to be anatomically perfect. Nobody's going to know.
Well, they hired Jeremy
People
now
live in
to
cities.
sculpt stuff like that from
Yeah.
scratch. You know?
I guess sometimes it's a producer that has an idea like, oh, yeah, we can just mold this cow.
yeah,
They
Or a
spent all that
shop
money
stew.
on the dead cow. They could have just used the cow.
Well, it would stink.
Well,
like death.
Yeah.
Not stable.
I mean, on films like Texas Chainsaw, they did do shit like that. They had
Yes, yeah, they did.
Joke on them.
Yeah,
It was-
and even on Hellraiser, they had maggots on the first Hellraiser that
yeah.
eventually grew into flies.
love
Oh, that's
that.
gross. Ew. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've done some real not fun stuff too for the sake of saving time or a buck. You don't want to, stir the pot when you get
Right. You don't want to get fired.
glad to be in the door. The fun is peppered throughout. I don't know what I'm saying.
What's on the horizon for any new projects that you're already working on at the moment?
Of course, none that I can say.
Well, he's
That's
always working on The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead, yep. And I just got finished working on the Interview with the Vampire, which I believe just came out.
The new
Oh, it's a TV
series.
show. Yeah, that
Oh.
looks amazing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And this did some work on that Werewolf by Night.
For Marvel.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that was so good. I just watched that yesterday.
Was that in black and white?
It is, yeah. Except for there's like a jewel that glows red.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
out of all the black and white.
Pretty cool,
Yeah.
yeah. Director on that was very cool.
On Fantastic Fest, they had two mystery screenings. One was Hellraiser, the other was Werewolf by Night. Yeah.
That's hilarious that they both came out the same
Yeah, he
week.
worked on both.
Yeah.
And then the Mayfair Witches did a bunch of stuff for that.
Saw a picture of that.
What
Yeah.
is it? Tell me about it.
It's Anne Rice.
And then this year has been really weird as far as there's been some big projects that have started up and then just vanished. A few pretty big ones that I just,
Yeah, like big, what do they call that? An IP, an intellectual property, and well known, and
huge
worth a
IP.
ton of money, and then it gets canceled.
I'm
Is this
sure-
related to HBO Max?
Maybe.
Yeah, I got
He
you.
signed a non-disclosure.
Yeah,
Well, whatever. The one I'm referring to is not.
Oh, okay.
It's one that is huge that you can't believe would have a problem getting
Or
off
that
the
would
ground.
get canceled,
Mm.
especially after you guys got well into it, right?
We were into a couple of projects, and Hollywood just I don't know what the
What's going
producers are waiting for. I'm not sure if they're waiting to see if some projects how well they do. I honestly, this town is again, it's just weird how
Yeah, you just don't know what's going on in the big offices and the studios and stuff.
Yeah, it really comes down to a few, superpower dudes or women that are just like, I want this now.
Yeah.
And they find it,
Yeah.
It's amazing that somebody could spend $50 million on a movie and go, you know
And
what? I think
cancel it.
we're not going to do this
Yeah,
one
we're
after
not
it's
gonna
already
use it.
finished.
Or what is the Batgirl, right?
Yeah, that's what I was
that's what
thinking
we're
of.
talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
It's nuts. how
And we
that
don't even hear about all the ones that there's others that like that too.
Yeah.
I ended up not making our third film, even though there was a lot of artwork and a lot of stuff done. So that one doesn't count. But that was just another example of a whole lot of work and then just it had a bunch of things. It was called Slumber for a minute.
There's a few
did
things
you
you need
find
to
that?
add here to your IMDb. Hellraiser's not in there. So definitely.
I definitely need to revamp. We've done all kinds of things to sculptures of dogs and stuff, which are a lot of fun. Not molding dead cows, but things.
Realistic
Yeah.
sculptures of animals.
Sometimes that can be a lot of fun too. lately what's getting hard is when someone just said, I don't know why, maybe just because I've done so much that I've just hit a point where I almost need the art school dropout to be over my shoulder going, no, I need this. Because like when people are like, just make it cool.
Too much freedom.
It's like your idea of cool might be different than mine. It's just
Of course.
where I find myself just going, all right, maybe let's get a design going before we just start diving in, to the clay. That's been the hardest part of it lately, but still always fun.
Well, I remember back when you were young and you would just take a hunk of clay when you were sitting around like on the phone or whatever, and you just start sculpting stuff, just whatever, a little head, or, you'd take a mannequin head, like a styrofoam wig head, and cover it with clay and make a million little faces all over it of all different monsters and creatures and stuff,
Called severe ADHD. I still do that. Look, I still have goofy things.
Oh, wow.
So cool.
I still can't. What I did find recently, though, I didn't make it. I'm just excited to have found it. Look at this guy.
Pumpkinhead.
I have a life-size one that Henry Alvarez did.
Oh, hell yeah.
Wait,
That's
you have a life-size pumpkin head?
Just to the
Shoulders,
just
and
to the waist,
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Wow.
That's awesome. All right, Jell, you got me beat.
I've got quite a few life-size things. I've got some, life-size one-to-one Alien, H.R. Giger, first Alien movie from Sideshow, and an Alien, the James Cameron Alien 2.
We've got to make a Zoom episode of Ed Martinez's garage.
Well, when I get it all set up, it's like a lot of these things are still in their boxes. Because since we moved to this house, I started becoming blind, and I never really got to unpack
some things never go
set up.
Maybe we could do a Burbank makeup effects pickers, and me and Ryan show up pretending that we're picking your warehouse and go like, how much you want for that pumpkin head? 1,500. I'll give you 300. Shake on it.
Might be onto something.
Yeah.
I know people that, like nowadays, they won't get, like collectors and stuff, like they won't buy anything that's made of latex because it's going to rot eventually,
Yeah.
Tell them we're going to sell those.
Or they you'll buy those boxes, those airtight boxes, which,
Right, to put your head in.
I got a couple of props.
It's just amazing that things like left over from the Wizard of Oz or whatever exist still.
That is that is a trip. Those slippers.
Like Bob Burns' collection, he's got many items from the early days, practically silent era of Hollywood, that still survive, like the werewolf cane, from the original Wolfman movie.
Sure, that had like a rubber.
It's a rubber handle cane. It's because the old rubber was really dense, and it didn't have all the air like foam latex where it eventually rot.
Well, Jeremy, I really enjoy the new makeup for the Hell Priest.
I'm so stoked that it's.
I know, isn't it ironic that you've come full circle? Back before you even worked in Hollywood at all, we worked on a Hellraiser Halloween haunted house room, and you sculpted on that.
It reminded me of that. I completely forgot about that.
That is cool.
I have video. I'll prove it.
Oh, that's the thing, man. I'm getting older and my memory's not so great. And so thank God for things like pictures.
Yeah.
We have video of that in the Candyman bee makeup.
Yeah.
Just because,
we got to scan that stuff and make a special.
Oh, my goodness. You want to hear a quick funny story? Just kind of popped in there.
Tell us an anecdote.
A random silly story about Hollywood and my goofy life. This is 92, I think.
Yeah, 92. It's Candyman 2.
Still, I'm still pretty young, and just glad to be at, on set, really. But I think I had just pierced my eyebrow. It was back then, and we're doing makeup on Tony, and he's super nice guy, but we start getting to know each other, and he's kind of fucking with me a little bit. And so he said, he's like, hey, Jeremy, I see I just got a tattoo too. He's like, Hey, I hear all you tattoo guys and
Pierced up guys.
guys are all bisexual. Are you bisexual? And at this time, I was still in the closet. This is the 90s. I wasn't sure if I was going to lose my job and my friends, whatever. But for some reason, the first man or person in the planet that I ever told I was gay was Candyman 2.
Wow.
And wasn't your boss in the room too at the same time?
Candyman. Okay.
There you go.
And he was like, that's cool. And then he stopped and that spoke to, you're still cool. Like he caught himself but he was completely awesome. And just the fact that, yes, the first person I told a very personal thing about myself was Candyman. So
wow.
Hey, and that's a great story. I know we're 3 days late for coming out day, October 11, but that's a really nice story.
I didn't know that.
I just still love that story about Tony Talks. He's super, super nice guy.
Yeah, we had a great time with him too, because we went to LA, to cover the filming of Candyman 2 and Lord of Illusions and Hellraiser 4, all on the same trip. And I show up on set, with a video camera, and there's Jeramy. I had no idea that I would see him. And of course, he had no idea he would see me, and he in the trailer there putting makeup on, the bee sting makeup. They were filming that day out in the middle of nowhere. There was this like a ranch or something where you had to drive and you get out in these just like boony hills where you can't see LA or nothing, it just looked like wilderness, like wasteland of wheat fields or something, and that's where they were filming the bee sting makeup sequence, and so there's Jeramy in the trailer, like he says, with his new piercing and everything. And I come walking by and he's like, dude, and I'm like, dude, and he's like, get in here, help me, So I went into the trailer and helped him put makeup on the guy,
Oh, wow.
Good times.
You helped me with the stunt guy, right?
Yeah, putting them. You had to cover his whole body practically with foam prosthetics in a very short time.
Yeah, and your camera was running when that happened.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first likenesses I ever had to do. So that was the stunt guy, but I had to take Tony's face and make appliances
on him.
to to make the stunt guy look like Tony still. So that was another first kind of thing for me, was correcting the live cast plus doing a stunt makeup. So I was shitting bricks.
And it was amazing. It looked just like Tony Todd when you put the foam on the guy.
Well, that's why I love Ed. He's very positive man. No. Wow. And that's my problem too. It's like, thank God for this business, because I have art pieces that I just simply never finish.
You wouldn't believe it, but I still have old sketchbooks with your drawings in them. Like you used to just take a blank page of a sketch pad and just start doodling on it and make some weird creatures and stuff.
And that's the kind of stuff I got to really make sure that I would say that to anybody. It's like, don't let others ruin what you love.
We used to smoke a lot of weed, of course.
Hell, sure. I've been doing this for so long that when I go to do my own thing, I'm like, all right.
You're not the Xerox machine right now.
Yeah, shit. Like when you can do anything, it's almost like, okay, I need to get dialed in somehow, But so I'm doing a lot more drawing and a lot more just real, paper, pencil.
And music used to be really an inspiration for you.
Always love music. Yep. Music is definitely, thank God for music.
No, but if you're like in the shop, what's your shop music these days?
Yeah, I like stuff that no one else likes. I electronic music. So
he used to listen to acid house electronic.
Yeah, I like techno. I like all of it. It's just my background, and it's what makes me
bring like a big stack of CDs to the shop. Back when CDs were the thing.
Are we talking about raves in 90s California?
Sure,
Yeah, he was a DJ. He used to go to He used to.
Oh, there we go.
Used to DJ. I had we had a radio station down here for a minute, which was fun. You know, I just have always liked the
Big
music.
wild parties.
There's the parties, but it was more of it was just now that I'm parent and I don't really do anything. It was just like a tribal kind of aspect, like a gathering, which I really I wish that people my age did more of.
Like Burning Man almost, or something.
A communal experience, right?
Communal experience of just like, that was the thing about Burning Man is watching. There's the cool art aspect, which is sends me, that blows my mind. But the greatest thing about Burning Man, I'm going to sound like a hippie, is just watching people be absolutely beautiful to each other. That's what the appeal was,
and collaboration with art and stuff,
and just people just being willing to bring things into their world, and I saw some really amazing stuff that has been inspiring, and have met friends that I still love that style of music. For a while, me and my buddy were writing music that actually sold some tunes to BMI. It's where productions go to rent music for their TV shows.
Sure.
So I just sold a bunch of songs to BMI, and every now and then I'll hear like, oh wait, that's my tune. Like
somebody will use it on a YouTube video or something.
Yeah, or I was watching The Dog Whisperer, with Caesar or whatever, and all of a sudden this little my music, I was like, oh, there's this. So very small little ambient, I love
that's what you want.
Kind of stuff too. So
I love production music. There's a few big labels that put out a lot of stuff. Like they'll make like a big fancy orchestral theme. It becomes a thing now for like trailers and stuff. They always have
got to have music.
Trailer music, production music. Sometimes they just grab it, just license this, put it in there. Even for people who don't know, movies have temp scores, and temp scores sometimes are done with production music. There's just generic. And then they give that to the composer and say, can you make something kind of like this? Yeah. That's a thing.
Totally.
Like Terminator soundtrack, is one of my favorite. Nightmare on Elm Street soundtrack is incredible.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
John Williams.
Day of the Dead soundtrack is incredible.
Oh yeah.
Or John Carpenter's music.
Or anything Carpenter. Yeah, I mean, so that's where I think the love of like the kind of sequenced, or Kraftwerk, that band Kraftwerk.
Oh yeah.
That just sparked my imagination,
Gets you in the zone.
Gets me in the zone, especially that real fine detail where you just get
noodling. You call that noodling.
Yeah, good noodling music, and it's got to have energy, or I'll just pass out.
You'll fall asleep.
So I don't know. I hope you guys get anything out of this.
Yeah, no, this is
100%. Yeah,
thank you.
I want to thank you for all the work that you did and all these movies that I recently found out that you were a part of, and I couldn't watch all of them for this particular interview, but I'm definitely interested in some of the ones that you mentioned, Sleight and
the regions.
And I love the Hell Priest. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight and be so generous with your collections.
It's great to get like an example of your methods and your, the way your mind works, and, like all the different things you've done, have brought you to this point to where, like since the early days when we did that haunted house to now that you've done the Hell Priest, it's just.
I want to go back, Ed. I want to go back. How do we do
I got my time machine, man.
I think that's what I want to do. I want to do haunted houses now for the rest of my life.
Oh man.
But not scary, not some big corporation. Like
just cool stuff. Fun.
Haunted. That was the most fun. But anyway, just joking. No,
it's like when you're a comedian, and you're in movies and TV and stuff, but you really love the stage because that's where you get the direct, response from your audience.
Yeah, you get to see the reaction, which is
kids cry and wet their pants.
Okay, my family at this point, there's nothing like, they're just like, yeah, whatever. I've seen.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for joining us. This was so awesome.
Hey man, thank you guys. Anytime. Well, dude, you guys are rocking out there. I'm glad you guys are doing this because Clive's an amazing person and an incredible talent. We've been going through his books on tape while we sculpt, and I mean,
nice.
That's great.
Yeah, so coming next, back to our commentary classics from 2016, Hellraiser Hellseeker. So get ready for that one.
What's the plot of that one?
The plot of that one is that Kirsty is married to a guy called Trevor.
Oh, right. That's where we get the Trevor.
Yeah, and then Trevor has been a naughty boy, and he's done some things, made some deals.
Like the Trevor in the new movie.
We're going to be talking about Clive Barker's Dark Worlds, the new book from Phil and Sarah Stokes.
Yeah, we got some advanced reading copy PDFs from Phil and Sarah, so we're digging into that. We're chomping it up.
And of course, the commentary for the Hulu Hellraiser will be coming up soon. We'll be returning to Jericho Squad 77, and we'd like to get to Visions of Heaven and Hell so we can talk about Clive Barker art again.
Yeah, it's on the way. And this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have subscribed. You can find the Clive Barker Podcast wherever you find audio. Show notes for this episode, as well as news and reviews, can be found at our website at www.clivebarkercast.com. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial podcast and blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans. Watch for our annual Kickstarter fundraisers to get some cool stuff, and you can buy t-shirts on our TeePublic store. Go to tpublic.com and search for BarkerCast.
Thanks for listening.